Hey everyone, this is Bruce Jans here. I am the instructor for this course, Philosophy 5665, Knowledge, Responsibility, and Society. And this video, the purpose of this video is to go over the course syllabus. I want to both give you a sense of the work that's involved in the course and also the kind of overall concept of the course. You're going to hear this from me a number of times throughout the course, but we might as well start now with what we're actually planning on doing in this course. So some of you already know this, but this is a core course in the Certificate of Theoretical and Applied Ethics, which is based in the philosophy department at UCF. It's one of two core courses. Many of you will have already taken the first one. And so this course, in some sense, is, well, let's put it another way. The first course is really meant to open you up to a number of theoretical approaches to ethics, and I think the concept behind this course is to think about how ethics actually happens in the real world. And so that's why the three kind of central concepts that are included in the title of the course are so important. As you'll hear me talking about throughout this course often, this course is not just a course on ethics. It's a course on ethics in the context of our epistemology, that is our approach to knowledge, what we know, what we can know, what we ought to know, and what our responsibilities are towards the knowledge that we may or may not have. And then the word society really is meant to capture questions around social organization and social institutions. So in other words, many of the kind of ethical questions that we face happen within those kinds of institutions, whether they be education, whether they be the law, jurisprudence in general, whether it is one of the professions, nursing, medicine, any number of things like this. You could probably think of, many kinds of institutional contexts in which ethical questions arise. And what you'll often find in those contexts is that they may well have developed some sort of approach to ethics, but it will be very much based on, let's say, a kind of case study approach or a kind of, we might call best practices approach. And those are fine as far as they go, but they often don't go very far. We are in a world of, new ethical questions arising all the time. And so what I hope comes out of this course for you is the ability to think ethically within these spaces and not simply just apply rules that have already been established by, let's say, a professional body or a legal body of some sort or something like that. Those, I think, often don't really serve to capture the complexities of ethics within real-world contexts. And so this really is a course meant to kind of bridge some of those theoretical and academic questions with the real questions that people face in the world itself. It's a graduate course, as you know, and so I am assuming that all of you are coming with a background. You all have an undergraduate background of some sort. Even if there are a few undergrad students in this course, they're senior students, and so you've come with a fair body of knowledge and experience already. And for many of you, you're already in other programs that have listed this course as an ethics course. And that's great. I mean, this is the sort of thing that we want people across the university to be thinking about. And so our hope in a course like this, my hope, is that you will be able to connect things that you care about and things that you've studied with the kinds of things that we're going to talk about in this course. I want you to become agile thinkers, to think ethically not just as a kind of requirement of the job or as a kind of set of things that you ought not to do, which is often how ethics is framed. I rather would like you to think about human flourishing. I would like you to think about what it means to do well and be well by others and by yourself, and find ways that ethics can be a kind of positive thing rather than simply a set of prohibitions or a set of limitations on what we do, which is often I think how we understand it. So that's some of the background to this, and you can probably see that it opens the door to a lot of different questions in a lot of different areas. And so if we go over to the syllabus here, you can see I've listed just really a few of those. Is there a link between self-knowledge and virtue? Does knowing yourself lead to acting better or engaging the world in a responsible manner? What does responsibility look like in a digital world? Do corporations have ethical responsibility past the profit motive? What are our obligations to the environment? See, these are all questions that are picked up when we start putting together these central concepts of epistemology, ethics, and social institutions or organization. And so that's what I hope we can get into throughout this term. We're always going to be keeping those three concepts in the foreground. And so ethics is always going to be cashed out or understood in that sense. It's not going to be an abstract pursuit. We're not going to be looking for abstract, meta-ethical principles, a la Immanuel Kant or John Stuart Mill or something like that, as important as they are. They often get worked out in a very abstract fashion and, are meant to be applied on the real world. And I find that a lot is lost when we approach things in those terms. A lot of understanding is lost and a lot of nuance is lost. And so we're not going to approach it that way. And so let's start with the kinds of texts that we're looking at. The first one is a book that I've used for a long time. It's by Lorraine Code, called Ecological Thinking, The Politics of Epistemic Location. Don't be scared by the price there. You can, I'm sure, find this as a used copy, either on Amazon or on a site called ABE Books. And that's ABE Books, if you're not familiar with it, is a site that is kind of a coordinating clearinghouse for used bookstores across the country and really beyond to the U.S. as well. And so you can often find things for much, much cheaper there as used copies, and you can buy them through that site, and then you will have the book shipped from whichever location, whichever used bookstore it happens to be in. And so I often advise people go check that site out for course-related texts because books like this that have been out for a while, there are almost certainly used copies around, and many of them are in very good shape, and so you can get them for much cheaper. So Lorraine Code is a philosopher from Canada. She taught at York University for many years. She's retired now. And she brings together questions, as the title suggests, around environmental thought, also feminist thought, and a number of other kind of strands of intellectual approach to think about what ethics looks like in a kind of very grounded sort of situation. She's interested in ethical cases that hit the newspapers. She's interested in ways that we frame ethics in the kind of popular media and popular mind, and how that often limits our set of ethical choices. And so she is really a kind of exemplary in bringing together these three concepts. She's working in epistemology, she's working in ethics, and she's working in questions around social institutions. And so she's really, in some ways, actually the inspiration for this course. She is a kind of friend of the department. She's been down to the department a number of times. I know her. And this really is a book that I think is hugely important in thinking about ethics in the kind of manner that we are going to try and do it. So that's the first text that we're going to be using. The second one is not so much a text, but it's a set of case studies. It's the Presidential Commission for the Study of Bioethical Issues. This was done under the presidency of Barack Obama. And after his presidency was over, the site was taken down, but it was fortunately archived in advance by Georgetown University. And so we're going to be using the archived version at Georgetown to look at, not all of the cases, because they went through quite a few of them, but a few cases. They have a lot of source material and a lot of discussion around some of the kind of ethical questions at a kind of policy level, if you wish. So not just an individual deciding something, but how ought we as a nation to approach, some of these questions. And so I think they provide a really nice case studies for some of the stuff that we are going to talk about in this course. They have the added virtue of being around on biomedical issues, which I know a number of people in this course have that background. I know we often get people from nursing and from other, backgrounds like that. And so hopefully this connects with some of you that way as well. The third assigned text that we have is called The Misinformation Age, How False Beliefs Spread. This is a Yale University Press book from a few years ago, and it really raises some very pertinent questions about our responsibilities towards the knowledge that we have, both as individuals and as a society. The responsibility towards collecting that knowledge, and once collected, our responsibility towards how we handle that knowledge, how we treat it, how we present it to others. And so we're going to try and tackle some of those questions. I think they're quite pertinent and current questions in the U.S. and really beyond the U.S. as well. And so, that's the third text. I think hopefully we'll have some fun with that as well. That's right towards the end of the course that we look at that. There is a fourth text, but it is an assignment that we're going to see in a couple of minutes, and it's what I'm calling a choose your own text assignment, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But there is something else I'm going to be asking you to look for in the course to try and connect what we're talking about here with your own background, basically your own professional background or interests or whatever. So. All right, so those are the texts. Let's go on to the overall format. This is an online course, which means that it is, in UCF's terms, asynchronous. If it turns out that a number of people want to have an online discussion, like a Zoom discussion or something like that, we can set that up. We can't require it as a course requirement because the structure of the course when it was originally set up at UCF requires that if it's an asynchronous course, we have to be able to, offer everything that a student needs in a manner that they can access at any time. So that's mostly what the course is going to be. But I do know that face-to-face and or even just Zoom discussions can be valuable. You'll see a lot of videos from me in this course, just like this one, where I talk at you, but I'd rather talk with you if that's at all possible. So if there's interest in that, we can certainly set that up, and so you can let me know as the course goes whether that's of interest to you at all. So as far as requirements go, the first one that you're probably familiar with if you've taken any other UCF course is that they want us to have a grade on the in the books very quickly, and that's to ensure that people actually start whatever course they're in. And so that's what I have called here the mandatory financial aid quiz. So I'm asking everyone to do that. This does not count towards your grade in any way. It's merely to get something in the grade book so that that the registrar's office can say, yep, so-and-so started this course. All right, so please do that within the next day or two if you can. There is a discussion and participation grade that's worth 20% of the overall grade of the course. And so there will be discussion areas. They will invariably be based on the readings for the week. In a course like this, and we'll see this in a moment, there will also be presentations. And in the presentations, I'm looking for people to raise questions about the readings. And so we can talk about those as well, the questions that have been raised by whoever does the presentation. I am looking, this is very important, I'm looking for at least 2 posts in any given module. And that means a post where you address these questions or address the content in some way, and then at least 1 post in which you are responding to someone else. Okay. Now you can do more than that. You can do as many posts as you want, right? But I'm looking for at least those 2. Now here's part of this structure of the course that's important to realize. This course in general starts on a Monday, right? It starts on Monday, the January 8th. But the modules in general are going to open up on Wednesday mornings. Okay, so this where you see this video right now is just like a 2-day module, and it's meant as an introduction to the course, and so we're not doing much, just introductions basically. The discussion will be you introducing yourself and talking a bit about yourself and all of that. But come Wednesday, we're going to have a content module drop, and those go from Wednesday morning to the next Tuesday evening. And that's going to be the pattern throughout the entire course. And so what I'm going to be looking for in the discussions is for you to make a post by the Saturday, okay, by the Saturday of the module, your first post, and your second post by the end of the module, and second and however many you want to do. And the reason for that is that if everyone waits to the very end of the module and then posts like 5 minutes before midnight, on the last day of the module, there's nothing for anyone to respond to, right? There's no discussion. It's just like, all of the content arrives at the last minute, and there's no possibility for discussion. There's no possibility for thinking with anyone else. And so I'm really, hoping to generate a kind of culture in this class where we actually think together, think with each other. Doesn't mean we have to all agree on things. We can argue with each other. We can disagree. We can say, well, I think this because of these reasons rather than that for those reasons. I mean, there's no agenda here of everyone coming to the same page on anything. But we can't do anything at all if we don't have some basis for that discussion. So that's why I'm asking for the first post, partway through the module. So please keep that in mind. In fact, if you find that your grade is not what you expect it to be and you're wondering why, that might be why. Okay, I do look to see if posts are made on time, especially if the first post is made partway, by that Saturday in the course, because this is really pretty important, I think. So I will be docking a few, some points on that on any given module discussion if I'm seeing that somebody isn't doing that. So that's the discussions. Presentations. This is very typical for a graduate course, a graduate seminar. We often have members of the in the seminar doing a presentation on content for the week. Now this time around we have a full slate of people in the course. We're at capacity already. We might even end up being a little bit over capacity depending on whether I let anyone extra into the course. That means that there are some weeks that we're going to have to double up. In other words, there may well be 2 presentations in some weeks. So I have some instructions on presentations if you go to the assignment area. I am looking for something like a PowerPoint. You can do a video if you prefer. You can do other kinds of things, but something that leads us through the readings of the week, and both to understand what the authors are saying and also to offer up your reaction to them, an opinion, right? I don't just want you to kind of give me a kind of summary of what's going on. I want you to kind of do some evaluation or do some thinking about them as well. Like, what does this make sense to you? Would it work in the areas that you're familiar with? If not, why not? Is there something that might work better? So that's what I'm looking for. Now, if you look at the syllabus, you're going to see the structure of the course is that the first 4 or 5 weeks are really a kind of quick trip through the history of philosophy. This is a philosophy course after all, so we're going to do some philosophy in it. And so we begin by looking at a number of central figures who have thought about the intersection of these 3 central questions. The questions of epistemology, ethics, and social organization. And so we're going all the way back to ancient times. We're looking at some non-Western sources as well. And we're trying to think about how have people put these things together. And this is not that, I'm asking anyone to pitch in with, any specific author at all, but I want you to have the kind of vocabulary and the kind of basis in order to discuss this stuff. And so the first few presentations are going to be about readings like that, and then after that we go into the kinds of texts that I've already talked about. We're going to spend a few weeks on ecological thinking, and we're going to spend some weeks on the biomedical ethics things, a couple of weeks on the misinformation book, and so we're going to have chance to do a number of these different things. I'm going to ask you to send me, and fairly quickly actually, send me your top 3 choices of modules that you would like to present in. And that can be as soon as I don't expect anyone's going to do the second module, which starts in 2 days, but it's going to be pretty quick. You can ask to do a very early one. I'm asking you for 3 choices because in my experience, if I ask for only one choice, I'm going to get a whole lot of people focusing in on, a small subset of these weeks, and nobody focusing in on the other weeks. And so I needed some way of distributing the load throughout the term. So I will try and turn that around as quickly as possible, so that you know as early as possible which module you're going to be presenting on. I'll send a note in the announcements out about this as well, because this, we do need to get this settled very early in the course. Otherwise, people might not have a chance to even do a presentation, or might, just be too many kind of towards the end of the course or something like that. So that's the presentations. Like I say, in the description of presentations, there is a kind of discussion of what I'm looking for in a presentation. If you've never done a graduate level presentation, that should be helpful, I hope. I can talk to you more about that if you're still uncertain about these sorts of things, but my guess is that many of you have done this in seminars already, and so you're hopefully going to be already familiar with how these things work. All right, so that's presentations. As I mentioned, there is what I'm calling a review your choice of course text. So in other words, choose your own text. This is one in which I'm asking you to find a book, and I'd prefer it to be a book, and I'd prefer it to be a single authored book if possible. In other words, something where someone is making an argument for something, making a case for something. And I'd like it to connect to your own areas of training, research, interest, background, right? I mean, if you're in nursing, I would love to see you find something in nursing that connects to the kinds of ethical questions and epistemological and social questions that we're talking about here. Similarly with any other area. And so that's the kind of choose your own text. You're going to have to submit that in two places. One of them is to me, and one of them is in the discussion area, because I want people to see each other's write-ups, right? I mean, this is most valuable if we can actually learn from each other and not just, me talking at you all the time. And so there'll be a couple of chances for you to kind of open the door, for the class to see your own areas of interest and background and how that connects to these ethical issues. Finally, there is a final paper. There's rarely a final exam in a graduate course, at least not in the humanities. So there's a final paper. I'm asking you to turn in a prospectus for that paper 1 month before the paper is due. And the prospectus, I've outlined what that means in the assignment area, so you can take a look at that. I am also asking you in the last discussion area of the course, the very end of the course, I'm asking you to post a short descriptive post on what your paper is, so that the rest of the class can see and possibly give you some suggestions before you turn the paper in, right? So what I'm trying to do here is get you to think about the paper not just as a last minute thing, but as something where we have several chances to think about what you're going to be doing. In fact, if you wanted to choose a book in the choose your own text area that's relevant to a final paper, that's fine too, right? There's another chance that you could take to, really focus in on a question that you think is important. And so, so I'm looking for a final paper that's a very typical graduate level final paper for the course. And I'm hoping that we have several chances to kind of think through and talk through it. And I'll, of course, also be available to talk with you or email with you or whatever works about that final project. My hope for a course like this is that you take something away. I'm not under any illusion that my course or anyone else's is going to stay with you forever. But I am really hoping that you find a way to think ethically in the manner that we're going to talk about in this course. And bring that, not just as a kind of application of a set of rules or standards or procedures for an area, but a real active, nuanced, very human way of thinking about how we behave well towards others and towards things that we have responsibility for. And so, that's my ultimate goal for the course. Obviously, I want you to do well in it. My goal is to get the best work out of you that I can. That's always my goal with any course. And so I hope you have a number of cracks at doing that, and I'm here to support you in doing that as well. I will chime in on the discussion areas at some points, but sometimes I'll just let them run. My experience with this course, and I've taught it for over 10 years every year, is that sometimes there's a kind of culture of kind of minimalism in a course like this. People post very little. And sometimes it goes great guns. I mean, sometimes people really get into it and really think about it and really think about each other's positions and so forth. I'm hoping that this course develops into the second of those, right? I mean, I think that has every potential for just some really interesting questions and important questions in today's world, and I hope you take that as an opportunity rather than as simply something you have to get through in order to get a certificate or get your graduate degree or whatever it is that you're after. So the only other thing I'll say about this, you can see the schedule for the course if you go to the front page of the course. I haven't actually talked about all of that in much detail, but you can see it. I've kind of given you the kind of broad sweep of it. The only other thing here is what I'm calling the Fine But Important Print, Spring 2024 edition. So this is longer than pretty much the rest of the whole syllabus. And it is just kind of defining the nature of the course, trying to address as many different questions as might come up. So I'd ask that you really take a look at this, that you really read it. A lot of the questions you may have about the course will probably be answered there. So start with that, please. And if you still have questions that aren't answered there, I'm more than happy to answer them. But please read that first. All right, so that is the kind of quick, version of what we're going to be doing in this course. I have a lot of fun with this course. I hope you do too. I think these are such interesting and important issues that we're going to be talking about. But more importantly than that, I think thinking about what it means to be ethical in today's world, in connection with being human, being truly human, engaging in this world as somebody who cares about it and who wants to make it better. That's not reducible to a set of rules. Generally, it's not reducible to a kind of best practices even, right? It's something more than that. It's an active way that we have of thinking about the world. Sometimes it requires us standing against institutional cultures rather than going with it, right? Ethical stances can be risky stances. They can be stances that come at some personal cost, or potentially do so. There are plenty of stories in history of people who have taken those risks for what they believe in. This is not, a course that's going to try and, educate you on how to do that. It is a course that's going to hopefully educate you in thinking carefully about how to make sense out of ethics within very kind of lived institutional, social settings, with the knowledge that we have available to us now. And so I hope that you can find this course a little bit inspiring to truly be human in whatever area that you find yourself. So that is our plan for this term, and I am looking forward to talking with all of you. Thanks very much.